Department of Defense told me there were no platforms out there from which these guys could launch this. Any tramp steamer is an adequate platform. A Scud launcher goes up 180 miles apogee. That's plenty high enough to take out all of New England or all of California and other territory. And a crude nuclear weapon, if you miss the target by 100 miles, it's just as good as a bullseye. This is clearly the most asymmetric weapon that any potential foe has. Thank you very much. Yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. You certainly have raised some very key and critical points that we must be vigilant around. And Ms. Hoffman, we're telling you that this is really a priority, and we want to ask you to please take this back to Secretary Chu. I now recognize the gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Lujan, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My questions go along the same questions that I asked the first panel and around. My question as to if all G&Ts, generation transmission companies, all distribution networks, investor-owned utilities, rural cooperatives are included in this broad definition of bulk power system, knowing that they're not. And with that being said, what are we doing to prepare to be able to address all those needs that fall outside of NERC's authority? And I would pose that to the panel.
I guess I'd like to start by asking a clarifying question. Is the premise that bulk power system includes all the G&T and distribution facilities?
Well, for the most part, most G&Ts do fall under bulk power systems, with the exception of I would say, a few that do fall out. But the specific question is, for those that are not included in under the definition of a bulk power system, G&Ts, IOUs, rural cooperatives, wherever they may be, including their distribution networks, what's occurring for the coordination there? Because according to some of the testimony filed with the last panel, that authority seems to fall to some extent under NERC, but the remaining authority is presumed to fall upon state regulatory authorities or other entities, depending on the makeup of the utility. And so what are we doing to include them as we begin to deploy some of the smart grid technologies that will be invested in?
I guess I'd like to start with the bulk power system definition is defined per region. And so the definition of bulk power system is very different in New England, for instance, than it is in the West. That excludes many more facilities. Now, having said that, even the SIP standards, the NERC SIP standards for cybersecurity, it's this staff member's position and our chairman's position that Section 215 of the Federal Power Act, which is the reliability standards, is inadequate to protect the grid from a national security threat. It's fine for everyday reliability matters, but if there is an emergency action that's necessary to protect the grid from either a physical or a cyber attack, it is inadequate, and that's why the Commission has advocated, the Chairman has advocated that the Commission receive additional authority if the expectation is that the Commission could protect it. On the facilities that fall outside of the bulk power system, the Commission did issue a policy statement last week, and it said that one of the items necessary for rate recovery is that smart grid appliances and devices must demonstrate conformity to cybersecurity. They must be protected from a cybersecurity standpoint. And so the Commission has used its authority, but is advocating for additional authority to protect against national security threats.
With that being said, Ms. Hoffman, if you could address that question as well and go on to, based on the position that's been put out by FERC, with the position that smart grid investments have to comply with cybersecurity technology, can grants also be applied for those reasons, or can the funds be used in that way to make sure that they're investing in the necessary cybersecurity preparation or tools, platforms, software, whatever the application may be or technology may be, included in some of the investments that they'll be making?
Yes, Congressman. Your first question, the Department of Energy's program does not distinguish between the bulk power system so we are indifferent. So we look at projects that look at the cybersecurity for the energy sector, looks at the energy sector as a whole, as well as the smart grid activity does not distinguish projects between the bulk power system. We look at the system as a whole with respect to the smart grid. With respect to the smart grid, projects must look at cybersecurity aspects. So it will be baked in or as part of their proposal.
Mr. McGurk, anything that you'd like to add in regard there?
Congressman, I'd just like to add that we're working with both the Department of Energy and also with the private industry to identify those requirements, doing the end-to-end. As Ms. Hoffman had identified, we also in the department look from the end-user home delivery system back up without having a regard to any defined division between bulk power or the distribution networks. So we work across the board along with the Department of Energy to assist in identifying those cybersecurity vulnerabilities.
And just a clarifying question, Ms. Hoffman, does EMP also fall under what can be included with some of the dollars associated with the smart grid implementation? Do those safety standards, can they be included in some of the investments that will be made?